favorite color is October. Hi, I'm Linda. Glad to have you back. Today I finished a fall painting. I love these colors. The cad red light, the oranges, the yellows. I made this beautiful little road that goes in here, kind of a mirror image of a photograph I took in Door County, Wisconsin in September of a few years back. I really love doing this one, and I know you will too. So get your paints out, follow me. So let's get started. And here is a list of paints I used. You can pause it here and copy this list, so that'll help save me a little time. I've also provided a list of my favorite brushes, which is going to be coming up here. There it is. Another place to pause and write these down. These are the ones that I used in this video. Alright, so now I'm starting with acrylics and yellow. I'm going to do a little clump in the back. It's right above the halfway. It's way in the distance. It's a group of background trees and that are going to be faded out real faintly because it's way in the distance. So I've gone into yellow, a touch of red. I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm just going right into the colors. Now I'm into this green, Hunter's green, and I'm just tapping. And when you tap that will automatically, they'll blend together. You just tap them, and that's fine. It's way in the distance, so it will, look faded in the end. I'm going into brown. Tap a little bit at the base there, and just tapping up. I'm creating a little clump of trees back there. So it doesn't look like much now, but it'll look all right. It's if they're distant trees. So I'm just tapping in, kind of a baseline there with little trees and bushes. And after I get this done, I'm going to go right in and after it's dry, I have to wait till it dries, and then I'm going to brush on liquid white, and I'm going to put it all over and right over the top of this. And then I'm going to take a shop towel and then just take a lot of that white excess off. It'll look like, give it a foggy look effect. But if I was to do it over again, I think I'd wipe a little more off because I think I left it a little too white. But that's all right. You have a chance to correct that. So I'm just proceeding to make some little trees in the background. They're fall trees. Putting the yellow and a little red on top of the yellow, which will make an orange color. Going into a little bit of sap green there, Hunter's green, and just putting some background trees, a little foliage. You don't have to be really super fussy. Like I say, a lot of it's just going to look like a foggy, distant area of land, way in the distance. So you can make it just however you want to. Now I'm putting a little brown in there. I'm going to make some trees way in the back. There are taller ones. And then eventually I will put some birch, little white lines in there for white trees. And you can do that now or you can do that later. I'm putting a little splash of red in there. Just tapping it in. And so it should go right into, there we go, transitioned. I did put the, excuse me, I put the liquid white on there and took a shop towel and went all over it. Took all that excess paint off. I should have gone a little bit more over the top of that because it really, there is a a big fog effect going on back there. So you can wipe a little more off than what I've got. So I've got some, I'm going into oil now, and I've got a little sap green and yellow, and I'm making the road. I'm trying to angle that little road. It's just kind of touch and go. You can play around with it. The center line, first I'm doing the right side, angling toward the bottom right, and then the other side. Just want to get that curve, that road curve, just right. And the other side, the left side's going to kind of follow the same angle of the curve, and then I'm going to gradually go off to the left. Now I'm going to make the curve a little bit wider, where all the leaves, kind of the gutter, it's where the hill stops, and all the leaves are going to collect there. So I'm going to have virtually four lines. And there we go, the outside edge of that road. And then right in the middle of that, I'm going to create, there we go, I'm going to come down right down the center, and I'm going to come right down to the center of the page, and that's where that center line is going to be, right there. And I might add, I used a little bit of the great blue for sky, just a little tiny bit up there. It's not a lot of it is going to show anyway, but just thought I'd mention that. Now I'm going into cad yellow and white, very, very light yellow, and I'm going just underneath that little landmass back there. That's where the road is going to disappear, and it's going to end right behind the future clump of trees that are going to be on the left. But I'm making that extra light there. Okay, now I'm going into Van Dyke Brown with a touch of red or red ochre, just a very little. I just don't want it solid, but I want it very, very dark. And I'm just putting the groundwork for a foliage, the forest floor, and I'm just tapping with a 1-inch, just kind of around that curve, and up just a little ways. Just tap. I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to do basically the same thing. Just tap up, push, and then just gradually work your way up. Like I say, you don't have to be fussy. It's just groundwork. It's ground color. So now I'm going into basically the same color, and I'm going to start putting in some trees. And I'm going to be doing a lot of those. So if I skip ahead a little bit, you'll get the drift, and you'll see how many trees I've added and how many limbs and all that. It's just, I think the video would be maybe 50 minutes long if I played every single step. So I'm going to be jumping ahead just a little bit so that you can see the progression. So now I'm going into another tree there, adding more branches, lots and lots of those. And you can use a nice little liner brush for that, and the paint should be fairly ink-like, otherwise it's not going to really flow very good. You won't get those nice tips on the ends of those branches. I've got a number, I believe it's a number 3 round, and if you press down going up the trunk, it'll widen that up. But I think those trees, they're not really huge right now, but you can, I'm just concentrating on filling that area in with a forest-like atmosphere. Just getting them all in there. And there's another one. Skipped ahead just a little bit. But I just want to guide you and help you position your trees. They're going all the way to the top and basically almost to the bottom of the brown, but not quite. And more little saplings, I think that's what we call them. This little grove of trees is like, I believe they're like red maple, or because they're really red, lots of red tones in this group of trees. On the other side is more yellows and light green, and it's just a different type of tree. So okay, so I'm going into that's black, rolling my brush. I'm going to make another tree right on the right side, pushing down all the way up, and then that line, just trying to get it straight. And after that, I'm going to go back with my brush and go over the top of that, so it'll make it a little more solid. And then just pull up or pull down. I like to start from the bottom and pull up. And you want to make them fairly nice and straight. Then when you're happy with that, start adding branches, tons of them, just every way. And eventually those inside branches are going to reach inward. I'm going to make them a little bit longer. I'm not going to do a tunnel effect, but I want to have them kind of come in more in the center of the canvas. Putting in a little evergreen with some sap green and a little bit of yellow. Little fan brush. Just tap away, get some color in there. I did it with the corner of my brush. And I'll be putting some more green foliage on the other side, more bush type foliage. But I'm still putting in branches, gradually kind of going toward the center there a little bit. I'm gearing up for the center. Now I've got a piece of sponge that I cut, and I'm just gonna lay some groundwork for some leaves, and that is burnt sienna, and I'm just tapping, and see how cool that the sponge really does put some nice shapes there. And just push them wherever. Kind of try and go with the angles of the way your branches are going, though. Kind of point them that way, you know. All right, and then I'm gonna go down into that dark area, dark bushy area, and I'm gonna add some of this dark color in there. Just tapping along the edge of where the forest ends. And not quite as far as where the blacktop starts, but all right. So I'm doing my little green foliage here, another tree in sap green and a little bit of yellow, and that makes a real pretty olive green. Just pushing some color in that area, kind of balancing it off a little bit. And you can come down a little bit and go into the dark area. Okay, so I am going into the dark color again, really dark. The browns, touch of black. Just gonna make some real dark areas. Pushing that edge of the forest a little bit closer to the blacktop. Okay, now I've got a fan brush here, and I've got it in black. Pushed it in some lamp black, and just starting to put the blacktop in, because this is a blacktop road, and I'm going to gradually just kind of touch inward where that where the leaves are. where the burnt sienna leaves are. I just want to go in just so they kind of get to the edge of that. I'll be blending that with different colors of leaves, and the other side black. And as I go up, I'm going to change my color to a little bit more light gray, because we're going back, way back, and that's going into the distance, and it's going to be lighter. The farther back, the lighter it is, because it's going to seem like it disappears behind that grove of trees. So now I'm going into a little brown and burnt sienna, which makes it a little bit darker, and I'm going to tap some of those little white areas. I'm going to meet up with the black top, just gradually, pushing a little bit onto it, because I don't want a straight line. The leaves are going to rest on the black top there along the edge. And the center line needs some pretty leaves too. So I'm just tapping with my Scruffy, and doing the center line kind of side by side. And then I work my way on the other side. I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but I'm just putting that dark rust color, mix it in on the black top a little bit. Those are supposed to be leaves. It's not solid black. So I'm going in with a little bit of the burnt sienna and maybe a little bit of red ochre. And I'm putting in some little indications of foliage, leaves, bushes on the right. And I'm going to go back into the center line, since I've got the red ochre in there, and see how pretty that looks. And I'm going to start shaping out my brush, my leaves there on the side, left side. Kind of shaping where the branches and leaves, the brush leaves, are gonna flow. Back down along the drive there, and on the edge of the forest there, I'm dipping in a little lighter color, a little bit of orange there. It's gonna start changing. The color's gonna get lighter. So I've got different leaf colors down there. A little bit of orange here and there. Now I'm jumping back into that dark black and brown again. I want to get to the end of the road, but I want some dark areas there by the evergreen. Now I'm into sap green and a little bit of yellow again. I'm going to make some bushes on the other side. Just angling my brush upward, just gently pressing in and blending it in with the back. And now I'm going up and kind of accentuating. I'm finding my trees. I kind of covered things up with the oranges and the reds that I put on the left side with my Scruffy. So I'm finding some of those tree trunks. Periodically, they get hidden. I cover them up, and we have to bring them back to the front again. But you can see I put the oranges up there, and a little bit of burnt sienna and a little red ochre. So we'll work on the tops of those trees in a minute. Now I am adding some white birch way back, where you could have done this right away, but my birch kind of disappeared when I had too much white on there. So I'm going back over the front and putting in some birch trees. And that's my little Scruffy Donna Dewberry one-step brush. I love that. I've had it for 20 years or better. Okay, I'm going into red ochre. I'm going to start putting in some more leaves. Just dotting them in here and there. And creating some bushes on a little knoll there. Appears to be a little knoll. Just laying the groundwork for some pretty leaves that will go on top of that. And going up there, put a little dark here and there, a little bit of the red ochre up there. Lots and lots of color variations. Way in the back, some more red ochre. Curving my brush, I'm gradually bringing those branches kind of inward. You can twist that little brush and it goes right where you want it. Same with the red ochre. Now I'm going into the yellow ochre with a little bit of brown. Tapping that in. More yellow ochre than brown, but I'm gonna just lay the groundwork on the right side for a different kind of trees here. I'm using 1 inch instead of my little Scruffy or sponges. I'm using the little 1 inch, which makes some really beautiful shapes too. I'm going into the darker Van Dyke brown. I didn't rinse my brush out. I just went in there and I just went right over the little, a little bit over the brown, and it gives it a little variation of different colors there. Going way at the top, those leaves are going to go right to the very top. And then I'm just reaching out, tapping outward, inward I should say, a little bit to the center, because I'll shape those better after a bit. I just want the variation of browns in this one. Putting a few little bushes way behind that evergreen there too. Now going into black and brown, very dark color again. And I'm putting in super dark areas on the right group of trees there. And you'll see how pretty that looks once I put the vibrant colors over the top. Having that dark area makes it really pretty. Now this color is kind of a caramel, reddish caramel. That's with yellow ochre and a touch of red ochre. And so I'm just tapping over where I've just been. Just light taps, it doesn't have to be solid. Let the brush do its work. Now I'm taking my little round brush and I'm gonna try and find some of those big trees in there because it'll help push back a lot of those leaves. I don't want that tree to totally disappear. Gotta have a trunk in there. Adding little arms here and there. Okay, sap green, a little bit of yellow. Gonna start, and I'm using the side of my 1 inch, and I'm gonna make some little branches that are reaching up in that really light green color. Doesn't have to be solid. You'll see once I move my hand that it's just straight little lines there, see? And then do the other side, and I will eventually curl curve those branches better after a bit. See the light and dark variations of green colors going into yellow now, and make sure your paint, it's got a little bit of thinner in it. It's got to be fairly thin, otherwise you're going to have trouble with it sticking, because there is quite a few layers of paint on here, and it will stick. You just got to make sure that consistency is thin enough. Going into straight yellow, and just a few taps, and then reload. See how pretty that looks? Just a few taps here and there. Once it starts fading out, wipe your brush off and go back in. I'm going into a little bit of the orange color. Isn't that pretty? Just a few taps is all you need. And just work your way around and down. I'm just tapping into orange and a little bit of yellow, maybe a touch of white just to brighten it up a little bit. You don't have to tap very hard or pull down on that brush. It's basically just tapping right on top of the paint. Tapping down, straight down, see? And you'll get that nice color. I'm dipping in a little bit of the cad red light. Just a very little bit. Boy, that really makes it pop, doesn't it? So now I'm going into red ochre. I'm going to go over those orange areas just a little bit, just to give it, you know, three-dimensional color look. It's not just all the same color. Alright, now I've started on the sides of the road there with tapping with a scruffy with orange and yellows, following the side of the road. And I'm just tapping in very lightly, just little dots of leaves, kind of staggering them in a little bit. Some are going to be on the blacktop and some are going to be bunched together on the side. And then I add on a little round brush, a straight black. I'm going to make some dark areas in there just to give it some depth. Same color, I'm going into that dark color. I'm going to stagger on the outside of that line of bushes, and I'm going to gradually just pull some of that dark inward toward the center. Just stagger it so it looks more natural. Going into sap green, a little bit of yellow ochre, and I'm gonna put a little color on that green bush there. Might add just a touch more yellow on the end of that fan brush. Need that help. Just a touch more yellow, it just brings it all together. Okay, I've got a clean fan brush with some orange and yellow on. I've gone way in the back where the road disappears there behind that grove, and I'm going to just tap my way forward, kind of on a downward. It's not really flat, it kind of goes uphill a little bit. And then I'm going to take a flat brush and just kind of tap in the red ochre and back up into the orange, just to give it some variations of color. back with the Scruffy. In the bright orange and yellow. I'm going to add a little color on the tops of those trees. Just a little bit. More yellow in certain areas. Try to shape little groups of leaves. Follow your branches. And the ones on the inside there coming out, just shape those, put the same colors on those too. Adding a little bit alongside of the road, orange here and there. And you can even dot the road here and there too. Dot the road, same colors. Scruffy works good, or fan brush works good too, just tapping straight down. But I really like my Scruffy brush. It does a lot of different things. I'm going to go into straight yellow and a little white, I think, a little yellow. Very ink-like. Really brighten that up. Just put a few dots of that bright yellow up there. Mainly on the ends. The sunlight is glistening through there, so the ends are a little brighter. Adding a little more yellow there on the other side. You just get up, stand back, you kind of look and see where you think you might need that extra brightness. Alright, now I'm going into my Cad Red light. I love that color. That is so bright. Such a pretty color. And I've got my Scruffy and I'm shaping out some of the main branches that are going to be kind of crazy and sticking out there. Just going to make it look, everything will just pop with that, with the different variations of color like behind that. See how that works? Alright, I'm going to put in some more bushes and branches, working my way downward, just tapping lightly, creating another area of branch. It doesn't have to be solid, just here and there. Kind of like the sumac, the red sumac. That's the color that I was striving for. Putting in some little bushes. Now I've got a clean 1 inch. I dipped it in that same bright red, Cad Red light. And I'm going to dot on the other side some of the bushes. Isn't that pretty how that looks? I love that color. Just tapping really light. Now I'm taking a little round brush in Van Dyke brown and a little bit of black, and I'm going to put in some branches. I'm going to find some of those original branches, so I want them to be on top of this color. So I don't want to bury the branches. Got to bring them back out. Just put a few. You don't have to put many, but leave a lot of those dark areas in there. And find some of your trees and open them up there a little bit. They don't have to be solid. but just kind of here and there. And on the right side there is a big tree that I'm going to expose that one a little better. But I'm putting in some branches in black, mainly black. It's got to be able to see them. And the black has to be ink-like, otherwise you're not going to get those nice tips on those little limbs. Go all the way to the top. Filling that one in. There we go. It's a lot of paint there, so you'll get it. Putting in more branches here and there. And you can tap a little more color on the road. The leaves have fallen in the road. Well, I think I see a finished painting here. I really love doing this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting, and God bless.